want to just start by giving you all a very, very warm welcome. There's nothing that feels better than being in a room filled with field instructors who are out there doing the work, helping to continue our profession and provide guidance and support and knowledge and skills and competencies to the social work students who are going to be doing the work following all of us. I'd like to start by introducing Dr. Jean Marsh, our dean. Jean Marsh is the George Herbert Jones Distinguished Service Professor at the School of Social Service Administration. And I think she has the unique distinction of being the only dean from SSA who's been dean twice. Is that right? Jean has provided great leadership in ushering in the Centennial year, and that's what makes today so special, because this really is the launching of our Centennial year here at SSA. And the many rich symposia offerings that will continue throughout the rest of the academic year. So without further ado, Jean Marsh.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. It's always such a privilege to launch the academic year with this occasion of the Field Instructors Luncheon, and to welcome you and to thank you for all you do for our students and for the school, and for being our partners in a very important endeavor of social work education and social work practice. But this year, given it's our Centennial year, it's a particular pleasure, and I think it makes the whole event even more festive than usual. But I have only a few remarks which really are intended to recognize and to thank you for being our partners in social work education. Fundamental to social work education is field education. And indeed, the Council on Social Work Education has now determined, is now using, in fact, the language, and I'll quote, that field education is the signature pedagogy of social work education. They write that field education is systematically designed, supervised, coordinated, and evaluated based on criteria by which students demonstrate the achievement of program competencies. And students remind us, the minute they get in the door, as you well remember as a student, that the most important element of their education at SSA is their field education, their field experience. As social work educators, as a social work educator, I often think of my own my own commitment to my field experience and my actual experience. And it was fun, in fact, as I was thinking about talking to you today, to think about my field experience at the University of Michigan. I hate to admit it, but about 30 years ago. And like all firsts and like all important experiences in life, my field instructors' names and faces and the support and education they provide me is really embedded in my memory, and it was fun to think about Mrs. Spinelli, who was a first-year field supervisor in the Saline Public Schools, a small farming community just outside of Ann Arbor, and the help that she gave me and the way that she worked so closely with my practice teacher, Frank Maple, who at that point in social work education had developed a field learning unit in Saline, not unlike the model that we have been working on at SSA. And this field learning unit was very much focused on the development of goal setting and problem solving as an element in social work education, very much influenced by the work that was going on here at Chicago in task-centered practice. And it was a formative and important experience that I really rely on today in all of my work. And the second field instructor was Mike Lott, who was part of again in the schools, a demonstration program called the Family and School Consultation Project that was designed to integrate the work of social workers into the schools. And Mike was in the early 70s, while Mrs. Spinelli was more traditional. He was a more sort of long-haired type guy who knew a lot about social work practice and gave me a great education. So it was great to be able to reflect on those experiences, the education I received, and how important it has been to me throughout my careers. And it really only points to the fact that field education is indeed the signature pedagogy in our field. Field education is also, as you well know, intricately tied to the mission of the school and the profession of social work. I just want to share with you, as I often do with faculty, the mission statement that the faculty put together not too long ago. The University of Chicago School of Social Service Administration is dedicated to working toward a more just and humane society through research, teaching, and service to the community. SSA prepares working professionals to handle society's most difficult problems by, 1, developing new knowledge, 2, promoting a deeper understanding of the causes and human costs of social inequities, and 3, building bridges between rigorous research and the practice of helping individuals, families, and communities to achieve a better quality of life. So we know that partnerships between the academy and the community are formed and strengthened through field education, through field placements. It really is in the surrounding community where theory and practice come together, where students learn in a professional way the importance of working in the community and of organizing resources to improve the betterment of those communities. And saying that, I just can't help but praise our profession a bit. This morning, over the email, I received an email from the National Association of Social Workers that reminds us of how important our work together, students, citizens, social workers, is. And it comes under the title, Social Workers Respond to Governor Palin's Attack on Community Organizers. And if you don't mind, it would just be great if you let me read the statement, which I think is extremely well written. The social work profession takes great pride in its community organizing roots and lauds the contributions of its members and other professionals who commit their careers to helping residents of different communities organize their resources and take social action to improve life for themselves, their families. Small town reformers and urban community organizers have much in common. The concept of community organizing, community building, and community development undergird the premise of American democracy. As a result of these efforts, institutions and officials often deliver more effective economic strategies, as well as mental health, and family services for people of all ages. Community organizing is also the foundation of most successful political campaigns, meeting fellow Americans in their communities and working with them to find solutions to problems that limit their potential is valuable and necessary work with significant responsibility. It goes on to talk about great social work community organizers like Jane Addams, Dorothy Height, but I will let you, I'm sure you'll be getting similar email blasts yourselves. So through our social work field and through the work of their student work as interns, they further the mission of both SSA and the profession, and we are deeply grateful to the guidance that you provide them in this endeavor. We feel so strongly about the value of the social work field instruction component of our program that over the last 5 or 6 years, we have in fact tripled the resources that we're devoting to this aspect of our program at SSA. And to do that required intensifying and increasing the partnerships with you, our field instructors in the community, in terms of increasing the diversity and the numbers of field placements. We know that this doesn't come easily. We know that field instruction in these days is not easy to pull off for you, already working to the limit, already working in challenging circumstances, and your willingness to take on students and help them understand the values and the skills and the knowledge of our profession is real. We are really deeply, deeply grateful for your role in this effort. So I want to thank you and applaud you for your good work for our profession. And finally, I'd like to thank Susan Knight and her colleagues on the field instruction team, Nancy Chertok, Barbara Acker, and Abigail Stewart for their really wonderful work, not only today, but throughout the year. So thank you all, and bon appetit.
I'm just going to make a few quick remarks as we celebrate together, because today is indeed a day for celebration. We have much to celebrate. Almost 100 years ago, Edith Abbott, one of the founding mothers and the first dean of SSA, had the wisdom to emphasize the value of formal education in social work and the need to include field experience as part of that training. From the very beginning, SSA's founders envisioned this partnership that Jeanne alluded to between the academy and the surrounding community to accomplish the school's mission. And also, as Jeanne acknowledged, the Council on Social Work Education has deemed that the signature pedagogy of social work education is field. These declarations, if you think about it, are pretty amazing when you go back to look at the original words of Edith Abbott, spoken in 1917, where she said the importance of field work in the training of students who are preparing for social work cannot be overestimated. So that tradition has continued for almost 100 years. Edith Abbott also recognized that social work training in the field must be undertaken with expert supervision. This is where all of you come in. You are our partners in this venture of supporting the next generation of social workers in developing the skills, the knowledge, and the values to create a more just and humane society. But we all know that we work in a socio-political economic climate that puts all of you in positions of having to do more with less. We celebrate the fact that in spite of these difficult times, you all manage to face the obstacles, to persevere, and to find resilience through your work with both clients and students. And these are the qualities that I most admire about all of you. Your passion for healing social injustice, your persistence in the face of challenge, and your resilience in managing these crises while maintaining your commitment to your students' learning. We celebrate you as you help transform that earnest beginning social work student with very basic skills but a big heart, transform that student into a skilled, confident leader in the profession. We celebrate you as you juggle the multiple tasks in your agencies and still carve out that hour a week plus time on the fly to meet with your students, hear their concerns, and expand their perspectives, and respond sometimes both to their personal and professional struggles. We celebrate your willingness to partner with us in modeling evidence-based practices in the field, including harm reduction strategies to improve the lives of individuals struggling with addictions. We acknowledge the challenges to which you have risen to modify traditional field models and incorporate rotations to different sites and experiences in order to prepare social workers more effectively for leadership roles in work with older adults. We celebrate your persistence in thinking creatively about how social workers can positively impact student achievement in our chronically underperforming urban schools. We admire your resilience as you face budget cuts while mobilizing your client populations to advocate for themselves. As Araceli Ramirez, who I don't think is here today, Araceli, are you here? She's one of our field instructors and an alumna of SSA, who was recently featured in a Tribune column by Mary Schmidt, highlighting her role in organizing over 45 youth affected by budget cuts in substance abuse programs to swarm the Thompson Center and protest the threats to these programs that keep these young people out of trouble and engaged in healthy activities. Yes, today is the day that we honor your passion, your persistence, and your resilience as you partner with us in equipping the next generation of social workers to fulfill our shared mission of alleviating society's problems. I think if Edith Abbott were here, she would be smiling at all of you. We celebrate also today the MPIs, the Master Practitioner Instructors, their faculty partners, the field seminar instructors, the field liaisons who provide the essential link between the academy and the practice world. These respected professionals help students negotiate the intersection of their personal, professional, and academic selves as they examine the interplay between coursework and fieldwork. We honor their ability to nurture and challenge students simultaneously while providing a safe space for students to examine their assumptions and explore new terrain. It is these professionals to whom you can turn for consultation on how best to support students in their intellectual and practice journeys. Bravo to all of you field liaisons. Please stand so that we can applaud for your good work. Finally, we celebrate today the people at SSA who make all of this happen. I look out in the audience and I see Bernice Simon, from whom I, as a young graduate student, had the privilege of learning the generalist approach to social work practice. In fact, I was very intimidated today to think about speaking in front of you because my recollection in your class was I was absolutely in awe of your ability to take 15 different comments, put them together in a cogent, eloquent summary, and leave us all walking out the door of the classroom thinking and reflecting on the words that you provided to us. Mrs. Simon, I still can't call you Bernice, but Mrs. Simon, in her passionate commitment to field education, must have planted a seed in me during my years at SSA. I also see Karen Teigiser, the Deputy Dean of Curriculum and tireless champion of field education, and Cheryl Peak, sitting at the table there too, my predecessor as field director, who together provided leadership in conceptualizing a new field model to integrate classroom and field learning more effectively. So my hats go off to you as well. My colleagues in the field education department have been extraordinary. Nancy Chertok, the Associate Director, has assiduously sought, prospected, developed close to 200 field placements during the past year, most of them over the past 3 months. That is an amazing feat. She has also provided enormous support, wisdom, and guidance to our struggling students and their field instructors and liaisons with equanimity and professionalism. Barbara Acker has been a strong advocate for the extended evening program students, demonstrating sensitivity to their many demands while maintaining high standards for their work in both the classroom and the field. She's been a very stable anchor for these students, embracing their diversity, valuing their work experiences, and inspiring them to make the most of their field experiences. I also want to thank and celebrate the contributions of Diana Cole, our temporary field office assistant, and Jessica West, our student assistant, who've stepped up to the plate while Alice Stewart is on maternity leave during the most hectic time of year. It would be really nice to have a normal summer for once, because last summer we were going through a transition as well. Thank you for putting up with the chaos. Today's event would not have taken place without the supreme organizational skills, professionalism, knowledge, and flexibility of Angie Carruthers, Patty Cohn, Maureen Stimming, Christina Madrea, Ann Bostrom, Keith Matterum, Rick Cass, John McGarry, Gidget Ambule, Sid Yu, Sid Colton, and all the production room staff. You are the best. Finally, I'd like to make special note of the field instructors who've provided quality educational experiences for our students over the years and have significantly contributed their time, wisdom, and experience to strengthen our profession. Please raise your hand if you have been a field instructor for SSA for between 5 and 10 years. You're fabulous. You are absolutely wonderful. How about any 10-year people? 10 years? 10 to 20? Okay. Even better. And how about 20 years or more? I saw Hazel Vespa over there. Yep, there she is. For those of you who have been a field instructor for over 5 years, we have a special certificate for you, as long as you filled it out said the number of years that you were here on the RSVP, outside of the assembly hall where you're going to pick up your CEU certificates. So now, finally, you can sit down, enjoy your lunch, talk, and schmooze. And again, I thank you all for your wonderful work. Since this is the beginning of our Centennial celebration, I have the great pleasure and honor of introducing our final speaker for the luncheon, and that is Karen Teigiser, who is the Deputy Dean of Curriculum here at SSA. And for those of you who have been longtime field instructors or perhaps students here, I really feel that Karen is the person that embodies field. And through the years, she's continued to be, again, a very assiduous supporter of field education and the value of field in our students' learning. And so it is my great pleasure to introduce my mentor, my boss, and the dean of the deputy dean of the curriculum, Karen Teigiser, who's going to tell us a little bit about the history of field education here at SSA, at the School of Social Service Administration, and in general about field education in our profession in general. Thank you very much, Karen.
Let me start with the most important thing, which is keep eating, okay? Please don't stop. I'm really honored to have been asked to make a few comments about the history of field education at SSA over the past century. Since its beginnings as the Chicago School of Civics and Philanthropy, and then as part of the University of Chicago, the School of Social Service Administration has always held field education central to the preparation of social workers. The model has evolved over time, both in reaction to changes within the field, public policy, and social events, as well as in response to new knowledge. It has always had the goal of contributing to our ability to promote social justice and reduce human suffering. While the model of field education has evolved, quality supervision and supportive and adaptive field agencies have always been required. Your role cannot be overemphasized, whether as director of an agency where an SSA student has been placed, as a field liaison providing crucial communication between field agencies and the school, or as a direct supervisor helping guide students through the ups and downs of their initial experiences. As we celebrate our centennial, we want to take time today to celebrate you and the important role field education has always played and continues to play in shaping our students' personal and professional development. It has always been a partnership between the academy and the community, between class and field. It has always involved developing a vision of what would maximize the student's ability to deliver effective social work. Over 90 years ago, in 1917, at the third annual meeting of the Association of Urban Universities in New York City, Edith Abbott presented a report on fieldwork. Edith Abbott, as you may know, became the first dean of SSA in 1924 and is the first female dean of any graduate school in the United States. She starts the report by stating the importance of fieldwork in the training of students who are preparing for social work cannot be overestimated. Everyone in this room knows the truth of that statement. I will briefly comment on Abbotts Report, the Generalist program of the early 70s, and our recent field project in 2003, as a way of recognizing some of the history of our field education program over the last century. In Abbott's report, there was recognition of the importance of students having hands-on work experience. She talks about a highly selected group of university-trained men and women who would give large blocks of time, which she described as 15 hours a week, who would be absolutely punctual, that's my favorite phrase in the whole report, and who would be carefully supervised from the school. In turn, the agency would give the students attention, instruction, variety of work in dealing with different types of cases, from simple to complicated, explaining to them not only what is to be done, but why it is to be done, and how the decision was reached. In addition, she states that some understanding of the problems of office organization and administration is essential. Clearly, these remain goals of field education today. She goes on to describe methods common to good casework everywhere. That is, careful investigation before any kind of help is given, the making of what we may call a careful social diagnosis, the development of the plan that shall see the person back into normal life again, and the following out of the plan decided upon, as opposed to the old-fashioned haphazard method of temporary aid. In this, you see and hear the origins of Helen Harris Perlman's problem-solving method and the framework for casework and problem-solving since that time. A serious concern in 1917 was which agencies would be able to provide good learning opportunities. Agencies were clustered in 3 different categories. Casework agencies, like United Charities and Children's Home and Aid Society. Playground work, I like that, like Hull House, which included clubs, classes, and gymnasiums. Or work in the field of social investigation, planning, conducting a social inquiry, tabulating data, and writing reports. She describes anticipating approximately 50 students at places like United Charities and maybe only 12 or 16 at each of the area hospitals. Now that would be a dream for the field staff. She states that in this work, the student is brought face to face with the deep, inevitable, heart-searching, and heartbreaking problems of human life, and stresses the importance of properly correlating the student's fieldwork with the lecture courses and class discussion. What seems clear from this report is the shift from providing temporary aid to learning how to problem solve would require a partnership with a university. She was adamant that such learning necessitated graduate-level work, and she was adamant that it be of the highest quality. You can see in this the beginning of the partnership between knowledge and techniques, between theory and practice, between the work in the field and the academic discipline taught at the university. During the next several decades, psychological theories were developed and led to much social work at the individual level. Then, in the early 70s, under the leadership of Bernice Simon, the school developed a new model of practice. The Generalist Model, as it was called, looked beyond the psychological needs of the individual. The broad goal of field instruction was to help students learn to identify and assess problems in relation to the context in which they were found, and to follow the imperative of the problem with multi-level interventions. There was a dynamic quality of the movement of students' work from one level of intervention to another. They were expected to work simultaneously at several levels with a given client system and to consider change within the context of the person's broader life. The structure of the program initially was 18 months long and included students in their first and second year in the same agency with the same field instructor. It was started in Woodlawn, the neighborhood surrounding SSA, and eventually moved to Evanston. Students were in field units in one large social service agency or a community of agencies where they could examine problems and seek interventions at multiple system levels, from individual, family, and group levels to organizational or community levels. Students and faculty had to develop the sanctions necessary to go beyond the usual patterns of agency practice and the usual roles students assumed in a given agency. They were attempting to expand the agency's view of its function and services to include larger system change. To assist in this partnership, there were field faculty teachers. They were able to help the students identify the need for and possibility of different levels of intervention, and then to teach conceptually from the students' common experiences and stage of learning. Faculty members had the responsibility of helping students to make the conceptual linkages between field practice and class content. Group teaching in the field enabled the faculty to teach by identifying principles that were being put to use and offering concepts and ideas not yet covered in the methods classes. Field instruction was to be the arena for the development of a new approach to practice and the source of the conceptual framework for it. Another component of the model was learning within the student unit. Often students were working on different aspects of the same case, sharing information and coordinating services. The nature of the problem dictated the intervention, not the theoretical perspective of the faculty, student, or agency. The fieldwork units and group teaching allowed students to function as peer consultants to one another. The meetings enhanced the students' sense of security as learners as they worked together on professional issues. This model demonstrated a different type of partnership, one in which the vision emanated from the faculty and generated a new conceptual model from the experiences in the field. This was an approach which became prohibitive as resources shrank and the world of practice changed. But some of the conceptual elements have remained central to social work education. All graduate schools now have a generalist foundation, and the focus continues to be on the needs of the client system in context, not exclusively with individual casework. More recently, many changes have occurred in the field. These are changes with which we are all familiar. Decreases in agency funding, increases in the complexity of cases and the workload of agency staff, increases in the amount of knowledge available for dealing with social problems. There are also changes at the university level, faculty time and attention needed for research and the advancement of knowledge, affording limited time for work in the field. Starting in 2003, under the guidance of Cheryl Peak, an executive committee of human service leaders, a faculty task force, and an advisory board of field instructors, students, and alums all helped to create a new model for field education. This time, the school was responding to changes in the field. Less time was available to devote to student learning from both agency and faculty perspectives. Our goal was to ensure high-quality educational experiences through both knowledge acquisition and practice experience. This necessitated a different type of partnering between the school and community agencies. The school developed workshops to cover some of the knowledge we felt all students should have to prepare them for the hands-on work in the field. We developed a field seminar for making connections between the theories in class and the experiences in the placement agencies. These are facilitated by a master practitioner instructor, a new type of field teacher, one who is directly working in the field, one who has a university faculty partner. Students are placed in geographical clusters to promote shared learning. And finally, students complete macro projects to give them hands-on experience at a larger system level. Each of these elements attempts to increase the school's role in the partnership for ensuring maximum learning while depending on the field instructors for direct teaching, guiding, and mentoring of students in their work. We also now have programs of study. These are places in the curriculum in which second-year students can focus on one area of practice. Examples include school-based work, violence prevention, family support, work with older adults. There is intentional coherence between courses, fieldwork, and field seminars to maximize the coordination of class and field and to provide opportunities to deepen student understanding in one area of practice. Here, too, close coordination between faculty and field instructors enhances student learning and preparation for their careers. Over the past century, there have been different models of field education. There have been different driving forces. Throughout, however, the need for dedicated field instructors has been constant. You have been our partners in this educational mission. We are indebted to you for your loyalty and commitment to the school, its mission, and its goal of educating students who will be prepared, as Edith Abbott said, to face the deep, inevitable, heart-searching and heart-breaking problems of human life. Our celebration of the Centennial is yours to share with us. It is through you and your agency's devotion to our mission that students can reach the ideal which we set for this work. You are devoted to the students personally, and it is their relationship with you which is remembered, cherished. That relationship is the foundation of their ability to believe that they might be able to model their work and their careers after you. You provide the knowledge and translate that knowledge into usable information. You provide the cases or projects and walk alongside the student as he or she struggles to find meaning in the experience and find ways to solve the problems being addressed. You provide the emotional support to enable students to examine their own feelings and develop the necessary self-awareness to effectively do the work and sustain the hardships. You provide the faculty with ways of thinking about social problems and responses to them which help shape their research and the development of new knowledge. You provide the school with ideas for our curriculum, new courses, new concepts for practice. Many of you not only teach your own student, but also teach courses for us in the master's program and in our professional development program. You influence the life of this school and are true partners. We appreciate your work and your insights. We value you as colleagues and collaborators in this ambitious undertaking. I end as I began with Edith Abbott's words. In 1917, she said, "The professional school must start the student along right lines. Train him to know and use his tools. Give him sound conceptions, methods, and ideas. For the most part, these acquisitions depend either upon doing or participating in doing, under competent oversight and control. The important point in this professional education must be to put the student in possession of scientific method. Knowledge of so-called facts falls short or becomes antiquated and useless. scientific technique lasts and improves. So whether you're joining us as a field instructor for the first time, or whether you've been with us on this journey for a long time, we thank you. We thank you for being our partners and helping us celebrate the past as we collectively shape our vision for future generations of social work professionals. Thank you.